Hello and welcome to Nationwide on Network Service of the Nigerian Television Authority. I am Habiba Oladipo. President Muhammad Buhari says Nigeria has become the champion of anti-corruption, which has attracted international recognitions, and winning the war against the menace requires collective efforts. The president stated this at a personal parade of Detective Inspector Corps 5 in Afaka, Kaduna State. The president explained that the present administration is committed to fighting corruption and exposing all offenders without favoritism.
My aim is to ensure that no government financial transaction is done in secret and all are subject to public scrutiny. I am determined that the recovered assets are effectively managed with greater impact on fiscal operations of government and social investment policies of this administration.
Acting Chairman EFCC Ibrahim Magu says zero tolerance to corruption is a national mandate and should be embraced by all. He says communication modalities such as public sensitization is essential for a corrupt-free society. Part of the ceremony was presentation of awards to outstanding students. And to legal matters, the Supreme Court has adjourned till the 2nd of March the applications filed by the former governor of Imo State, Mr. Emeka Ihedioha of the People's Democratic Party, seeking a review of his judgment, which nullified his election. The court also adjourned to the same date the application of the All Progressives Congress in Zamfara State, seeking a review of the decision of the court, which invalidated the governorship, national and state House of Assembly on the grounds that the party failed to conduct legitimate primary elections in line with the Constitution. Details of that report will be brought to you later. And staying with the judiciary, the Federal High Court in Abuja has restrained the Independent National Electoral Commission from deregistering 31 political parties. The political parties were among the 74 whose registrations were withdrawn by INEC on February 6, 2020, due to their alleged poor performance in the 2019 general elections, Olabode Arewa reports.
The Federal High Court in Abuja on Monday restrained the Independent National Electoral Commission from deregistering the 31 political parties on the grounds that the parties' application for a restraining order was not opposed by INEC. The 31 political parties and 2 others had filed an application on the 30th of October 2019, expressing the fear that they were going to be deregistered by INEC in violation of the law. While their suit was pending, INEC went on to deregister 74 political parties, including 31 for the 33 plaintiffs. Delivering a ruling on the plaintiffs' application, Justice Anwuli Chikere held that INEC failed to file a counter-affidavit to oppose the claims of the plaintiffs. Although INEC, through his lawyer Taminu Inuwa SAN, claimed that the electoral umpire was not served with the processes filed by the plaintiffs, the judge noted that there was proof in the cause file that INEC had indeed been served. The judge ruled that since no counter-affidavit was filed, the facts sworn to in the affidavit in support of the application remained unchallenged, undisputed, and deemed to be true. The Attorney General of the Federation and INEC are the 2 respondents in the matter. The court has adjourned the matter till February 27, 2020 for hearing in the substantive suits. The plaintiffs in the matter are the Advanced Congress of Democrats, filing on behalf of 30 other political parties. In Abuja, Olabode Arewa, NTA News.
In the meantime, the Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC, says the court ruling restraining the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, from deregistering 31 political parties is a victory for democracy and the judiciary. The council's president, Peter Ame, at a media briefing in Abuja, explains that with the ruling, the 71 political parties recently deregistered by INEC stands. Timothy Yusuf reports.
We will not, as a council, go on a protest that will endanger peace and prosperity of this council. And that is why our law-abiding people, we went to court. And we thank God that the temple of justice gave us justice.
IPAC President Peter Ame says the High Court ruling of Monday, February 17, restraining INEC from deregistering the political parties is a win-win situation for democracy and the judiciary. IPAC, he explains, will continue to have faith in the nation's judiciary.
And let's talk about the largeness of the ballot paper. What we should do is that we will engage more in education and sensitization. That we must be able to also look that parties develop along ideological line, not based on Chapter 2 of the Constitution. And we are willing, as a people, to defend the Nigerian Constitution to the letter.
While calling on political leaders to always remain on the side of the law, IPAC restates that an opportunity still lies ahead of the 74 political parties affected to prove their strength in the various states' local government elections. In Abuja, Timothy Yusuf, NTA.
Away from electoral matters, Ibrahim from Zamfara State, who was unlawfully detained for 3 years in Saudi prison, has been released. Chairman Nigeria's Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabiri Erewa, gave the cherry news at the meeting of Standing Committee on Diaspora Matters in Nigeria. Mia Ogidi reports.
Members of a standing committee, but they have to sit for a moment to check the level of progress made on the online registration of Nigerians in diaspora, skills acquisition and transfer of such skills for national development, and how to invest. Membership drawn from different government agencies and continents, but one request, centered on the validation of draft National Diaspora Policy and Action Plan.
And of course to see the results of the policy in conjunction with all the other policies that we have on migration-related matters in Nigeria.
With full dose of success reports and requests documented in a file, the chairperson of the Nigerians in the Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabiri Erewa, brought a good news.
Ibrahim, who has been locked in prison for 3 years in Saudi Arabia for an offense that they commit, the head of our legal department went to Saudi with 2 representatives from Zamfara with support from the Office of the Attorney General. And the good news is that this morning we've been able to get him out of prison.
And on the issue of Nigerians at the ground zero location of the coronavirus in China,
we have 60 students in Wuhan, and they've requested for financial support to help them buy things like face masks, medication, food. We are just on standby. Left to Mr. President, evacuation can be done now, but based on advice by the embassy, who is in touch with the students.
International Organization for Migration and the European Union are giving Nigeria a full backing on the protection of Nigerians in the diaspora, Abike Dabiri Erewa added. Mia Ogidi, NTA News.
This is Nationwide on the NTA. It's time to join Hinginu John Adams in our Lagos Center for more reports.
Thank you, Habiba, for joining us in Lagos. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, says the federal government will continue to implement policies and measures to improve the fiscal wealth of the nation. The minister made this known in a message at the Federation Accounts Allocation Committee retreat in Lagos. Nosa Osla reports.
Generation and its distribution remain a sensitive issue which continues to generate reactions from all stakeholders at all times in Nigeria. The minister, who was represented by the permanent secretary in the ministry, assured Nigerians that governments at all levels are relentlessly making efforts towards more effective public finance management to boost revenue collection.
The recent introduction of states' fiscal transparency, accountability, and sustainability, or SIFTAS, program for results through collaboration with the World Bank is another conscious effort by the government to strengthen fiscal discipline.
Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, in a message, called on the federal government to continue to leverage on the opportunities presented by non-oil sectors to diversify the economy.
A situation in which a commodity as volatile in pricing as oil accounts for the bulk of our public revenue and foreign exchange is not desirable.
How important it is for us as a nation to diversify our economy from a mono-economic situation.
Participants and stakeholders at the event were unanimous in their opinions that states should look inwards to increase their IGR and diversify. The theme of the event was Efficient Federation Revenue Allocation as a nexus for national economic diversification. In Lagos, Nosa Osula, NTA News.
Still on the economy, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu says effective tax revenue mobilization is key to economic growth and development. The governor was speaking while playing host to the executive chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Mohammed Nami, and his team in Lagos. Once again, Nusa Osula reports.
Taxation is an important fiscal policy instrument at the disposal of governments to mobilize revenue and promote economic growth and development. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu assured the executive chairman of the FIRS that Lagos is committed to assisting the agency in its quest to achieve its primary objective of increasing revenue through an effective tax revenue mobilization system.
And to also use this opportunity to encourage our citizens that only when they play their own part as responsible corporate or individual citizens, both at the corporate level and at the individual level, that government can come up and discharge its responsibility.
The executive chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, who explained that taxation is indispensable for the development of any nation, called for deeper collaboration between the FIRS and LIRS to achieve revenue targets.
Without this collaboration, we hardly can generate this 8.5 trillion naira that we are requested or we have been instructed to collect by Mr. President.
The chairman added that the ability of tax to stimulate economic growth in the country will result from the deliberately designed policies that will encourage payment of tax. In Lagos, Nosa Osula, NTA News.
2020 has been declared the year of gas. This is in line with the federal government's commitment to harnessing flare gas for greater economic benefit and holding up its end of the climate change agreement. Bidders are set to take advantage of the Nigerian gas flare commercialization program. Dotun Ogwemi reports.
Nigeria is among 10 of the world's highest gas flaring nations. This is, however, set to change as actions aimed at ending gas flaring at a national level have commenced. With 200.7 trillion cubic feet gas reserve and 8 billion standard cubic feet daily production, 40% of Nigeria's gas is exported, 30% used as fuel for business of oil and gas, 17% used domestically, and 11% still being flared, according to the Department of Petroleum Resources.
This particular aspect is to realize that 2015 commitment to climate change, which will take that 11% of the flare volume to market. Not only to market, but creating opportunity, employment, as well as gas-based industries as it is.
In this hall are 200 shortlisted bidders to harness over 45 gas flare sites.
And by the time we get to the finish line, we'll definitely have made the historical success of NGFCP, with not only ending gas flaring, but introducing a model of harnessing gas resources in Nigeria.
While the world has set a 2030 date to achieve zero routine flaring, this singular action will reduce greenhouse gas emissions to the tune of 20 million tons of carbon dioxide to help combat climate change. In Lagos, Dotun Ogwemi, NTA News.
And Dalton Oguyemi's report ends our contribution from Lagos. More reports from Habiba in Abuja after this break.
The Honorable Speaker, House of Representatives, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, cordially requests the honor of your esteemed presence at the unveiling of the Green Chamber magazine. Date, Wednesday, 19th February. Venue, National Assembly Complex. Time, 10 a.m. prompt. Special guest of honor, His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, President, Federal Republic of Nigeria. Guest of honor, Senator Ahmed Lawan, President of the Senate. Chairman, Alhaji Aminu Masari, Executive Governor of Katsina State. Keynote speakers, Professor P.L.O. Lumumba, Advocate of High Courts of Kenya and Tanganyika, Professor Magnus L. Pakol. This also serves as an invitation to all state governors, service chiefs, honorable ministers, heads of agencies, State House of Assembly speakers, and House of Representatives members. The Green Chamber magazine, telling our story, changing the narrative. RSVP 0805-885-2020.
Appraising the agricultural value chain in Nigeria is the focus this week on NTA Tuesday Live.
If we are going to progress, we have to train extension workers.
Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development Muhammadu Sabo Nanono and other dignitaries, including Chairman, House Committee on Agriculture Munir Baba Dangagundi, will provide answers to all your questions. Tuesday Live at 10:30 p.m. Don't miss it.
It's like making a step while the world is going forward and the school is making a step backward.
The students, they sit on the floor, no chair for them. Even the classroom is nothing to write home about.
We have only one toilet, and that toilet is not good.
Going to that toilet is an eyesore. 980 people using one toilet.
Coming on April 2nd, 2020, in the capital city of Abuja, the Ivory 8 Ball, a life-saving fundraising event featuring music and arts in aid of skin cancer patients with albinism. For participation and sponsorship, call Edidiong on 070-197-73352 or Chinwe on 090-559-61514. This event is powered by Nigerian Television Authority, TV Enterprises, Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, FRCN, African Independent Television, and Ray Power FM, Silverbird Television, and Rhythm FM, the Albino Foundation, the Ivory 8 Ball, for a worthy cause. Watch out.
Newcastle United travel to London for the second week in a row as they take on Crystal Palace in the league. Will they achieve the double over their hosts this season, or will Crystal Palace carry out their revenge? Find out as Crystal Palace hosts Newcastle United on the Premier League Live on NTA Network at 3:30 p.m. this Saturday. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Coca-Cola and Access Bank.
Many thanks for being there. Earlier, we told you that the Supreme Court has adjourned till the 2nd of March an application seeking a review of its judgment, which nullified the election of former governor of Imo State, Emeka Ihedioha. Vera Chimuba is now ready with that report.
Former governor of Imo State, Emeka Ihedioha of PDP, is requesting for 7 days to regularize its processes to the application. The motion by his counsel, Kanwa Gabi, SAN, was not opposed by the respondent's counsel. The 7-man panel of justices led by Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Ibrahim Tanko Muhammad, was set to review the applications. In a unanimous decision of the Apex Court, read by Justice Kudura Kekereku, had agreed that results from 388 polling units were unlawfully excluded from Uzodinma's results, and that if the votes were included, Uzodinma would have scored majority of the lawful votes and ought to have declared winner of that election. On Zamfara case, the APC approached the court for review of its earlier judgment, which invalidated its participation in the governorship, national and House of Assembly election, which resulted in the APC losing all its seats declared by INEC. The case was adjourned due to non-service of hearing notice on the respondents.
It's simple that judgment was obtained by fraud, that the appellant in that appeal obtained the judgment by fraud. And in that application, we set out the grounds of fraud.
The review they are asking for is out of this world because the very election petition and the entire appeals on it died on the 25th of May 2019.
The court itself observed that some of the parties in the matter are not aware. In other words, we are not served, so they are neither present here or represented by counsel. So that may go to infringe upon their fundamental right of fair hearing.
So the Constitution says all courts except the tribunal, they have no originating power to take any matter except it is an appeal from the tribunal. Now,
the decision of the Apex Court will be made known by 2nd of March. In Abuja, Viera Chumuba, NTA News.
And security matters, the Algerian Police Authority says all its security expertise and experience in fighting terrorism will be used to support the Nigerian police force to overcome its security challenges bedeviling the country. Algerian police chief who doubles as the president Afripol General Assembly, Khalifa Unusi, stated this when he paid a courtesy visit to the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Abubakar, in his office. Ilyasu Ali Yakubu reports.
The police all over the world are in charge of internal security, and as such, the dynamics of its approach to the security challenges require a high level of professionalism. The Nigerian police has been given its personnel training and retraining from within and outside Nigeria to meet up with the challenges of internal security in the country. This courtesy visit by the Algerian police chief to the IGP provides the platform to synergize on Nigeria's security challenges in fighting terrorism and insurgency. The meeting also deliberated on the forthcoming Africa Police Conference, which will focus on the security challenges in the region.
En Afrique, un peu retard dans ce cadre-là.
The tendency now is to have works together with many countries, and in Africa we have to work more in order to be at this stage.
The IGP is confident that the expertise and experience of Algerian police will no doubt contribute meaningfully to the fight against insurgency and terrorism in Nigeria.
The only way we can collectively defeat terrorists is by uniting together within the continent, and the umbrella that can bring us together to fight terrorists is the APRIFOL.
The meeting later went into closed doors to deliberate on some interventions regarding the security challenges in the region. In Abuja, Ilyasu Ali Yakubu, NTA News.
In the meantime, the Nigerian police force is making headway in addressing the challenges of perpetrators of fake news, with the latest arrest and confession of one Grace Ibrahim, who posted on social media an accusation that police is responsible for the kidnap and killing of the wife of Philip Ataga, who recently in Kaduna State. The police public relations officer, DCP Frank Umba, paraded the suspect when she confessed to the crime and apologized to the Nigerian police.
I want to first of all start to apologize to the Nigerian police for putting out an information that was false, because I didn't verify. It was based on hearsay, and I just put it out there. I didn't think about the implication, and I'm very, very sorry because the information was false. I wish to apologize.
The PPRO cautioned Nigerians to always verify and check their facts before going to the press to avoid misleading the public.
So when you spread this kind of false story, insinuating that police officers are now the ones carrying out kidnapping and killing innocent people whose lives they have been charged and paid to preserve, then you are damaging a very vital ingredient of a stable society.
Mr. Philip Ataga's family was recently kidnapped in Kaduna State. And elsewhere, Borno State government is to establish civil authority in Abadam local government area as soon as the area is declared safe by the military. This followed Governor Babagana Umar Zulum's visit to Malam Tofuri headquarters of the council to assess level of destruction from where he met the military formation there. Yagumsu Bukar reports.
Malam Fatori, headquarters of Abadam local government, is one of the communities in northern Borno overrun by the Boko Haram insurgents, compelling residents to flee for safety in neighboring Niger Republic. The liberated community, now under the control of 64 and 94 battalions of the Nigerian army, is a ghost town with both private and public structures destroyed. Governor Babagana Umara flew into Malam Fatori where he assessed damage done to the community and held meeting with the military officials, including the commander, Sector 4 of the Multinational Joint Task Force, and other top military officers, after which he addressed the soldiers, assuring them that the state government will drill boreholes and deploy excavator to dig trenches to fortify the town.
We are here to see things for ourselves. We remain eternally grateful to all of you for all the wonderful job that you have been doing.
Professor Babagana Umara was received at the border between Nigeria and Niger by the governor of Difa province, Issa Lamin, and other officials, from where he proceeded to Busu, a border community in Niger hosting refugees from Borno as well as Tumur and Garin Wanzam communities. Governor Babagana Umara sympathized with them, assuring that government is working hard to resettle them in their communities as soon as the areas are declared safe. In Maiduguri, Yagum Subukar, NTA News.
The intensified offensive operations of the Nigerian Air Force against terrorist targets in the northeast of the country has recorded further significant strides. These came about under the auspices of Operation Rattlesnake 3, being executed by the Air Force Task Force team of Operation Lafia Dole, which dealt another devastating blow on elements of the Islamic State of West African province with the destruction of a training camp and Tumbun Zarami on the fringes of Lake Chad in Borno State. In a statement by the Nigerian Air Force, the mission was conducted on 16th of February 2020 after successive days of intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance missions, as well as intelligence reports from multiple sources, including the Multinational Joint Task Force headquarters. Training activities were being carried out in and around some makeshift structures hidden under the shrubberies within the settlement. Consequently, the ATF detailed its attack aircraft that engaged the training camp 4, scoring accurate hits, which led to the destruction of the suspected camp commander's house, as well as some other structures within the camp. The NAF, operating in consonance with the surface forces, will sustain its air campaign to shape the battle space in the northeast for effective conduct of further ground and air operations. And the Nigerian Navy ship Delta has arrested 3 vessels, a barge and a boat of 33 crew members conveying suspected illegally refined petroleum products. Kevin Ubechi reports that the vessel and the suspects have been handed over to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission for further investigations and prosecution.
The 3 vessels include MT Nelly, MT Madam Esther and MT The Praise, with 31 crew members, while the wooden boats and the barge had 2 suspects on board. Handing over the vessels and the suspects to EFCC, the commander, NNS Delta, represented by the executive officer, NNS Delta, Navy Captain Anthony Kujo, said the vessels and the crew members contravened maritime regulations.
The vessels were also engaged in violating maritime regulation, in switching off their AIS and operating illegally within Nigerian waters. So I will seize this opportunity to send a very strong note of warning and message to all economic saboteurs to stay clear of waters within NNS Delta area of operation.
We are taking over the vessels to investigate the extent of involvement in these activities.
Some of the suspects deny that the automatic identification system was deliberately switched off.
It's the generator issue that we are having. That's the result of that. Some equipment, electronics got spoiled.
It's not illegal. In marine, I think when you have a problem, you have to proceed to the nearest anchorages.
Officers of the Department of Petroleum Resources were also present to carry out more analysis to determine the actual products. From Warren, Kelvin Ubechi, NTA News.
And away from security matters, the proposed alteration of the 1999 Constitution has continued to generate public discourse. Guests on Good Morning Nigeria call for abolition of the joint account, which they say impedes development at the third tier of government. Ekemini Williams reports.
The constitution of 56-member Constitution Review Committee by the Senate generated public discourse on the possible areas that need to be altered to cater for the agitations of Nigerians. Guests on Good Morning Nigeria, while discussing the proposed constitution amendment, said it is proper for Nigeria to review her constitution to reflect the dynamics of modern trend as it is done in other developed democracies.
It is proper that we revisit our constitution from time to time and try to look at those provisions that will ensure better quality governance.
The guests advised National Assembly to consult widely with Nigerians, organize public hearings and constituent engagements to drive the process with a view to coming up with a constitution that will cater for the wishes and aspirations of the people.
At the end of the day, after consulting our constituents, these views will now be articulated and then aggregated into the process of constitutional amendment so that at the end of the day, the document that is going to emerge will be a replica of the wishes and aspirations of majority of Nigerians.
The guests identified areas that require alteration to include local government autonomy, independence candidacy, states police, devolution of powers, revenue sharing, among others.
We must pray for even the National Assembly members so that they get focused, and then we must not wave aside all these agitations from the people. For instance, if you look at it, what are the causes behind setting up regional security outfit? They may not have been considered in the past, but what are those things now that are making people to say, let's go for this?
The joint account must be abolished completely so that this money comes directly to the local government. Let them administer their funds, do whatever they think their people need.
They urged the state legislatures to rise up to the challenge by ensuring that the third tier of government gets its independence this time around. In Abuja, Ekemini Williams, NTA News.
And following the directive by President Muhammadu Buhari to the Controller General of the Federal Fire Service to, as a matter of urgency, map out strategies to combat the reoccurring fire outbreaks in the country, the Federal Fire Service has flagged off a nationwide training for state fire services. Katsina State, being the center for the Northwest Zone, was the first. Doing Dia has that report.
It's been celebration galore here in Kenkia local government area of Katsina State, witnessing the flag off of the nationwide training of state fire services.
Limited resources and the needed manpower are amongst the factors said to be a militating factor to prompt fire emergency response in the country. The training for state fire services, therefore, is in response to President Muhammadu Buhari's instruction to the Federal Fire Service for a rapid response to the ravaging fire outbreaks across the country.
By the time we expose them to international best practices, they'll be able to handle this situation.
It's a really saving grace for all Nigerians. 2 days ago, we had a fire incident. I think the Controller General saw the place today. So we thank the federal government.
The extension of the provision of fire services infrastructure into the various nooks and crannies of the state will make it faster for the Federal Fire Service and the State Fire Service to respond
My expectation is that I'm thinking to get a full knowledge based on incident command and the disaster management.
President Muhammadu Buhari last year approved the recruitment of 2,200 firefighters and the purchase of 96 firefighting trucks to boost the capacity of the Federal Fire Service. From Kankia local government area of Katsina State, doing Dia NTA News.
The Sustainable Development Goal 3.3 is on global eradication of hepatitis before the year 2030. Kenneth Nanium reports that the National Orientation Agency, in collaboration with the Mike Omotosho Foundation, is championing campaign, urging the general public to go for hepatitis screening and vaccination as a way of containing the virus and meet the SDG set goals.
Hepatitis is a viral disease that attacks the human liver and has been categorized into A, B, C, D, and E. The virus is often referred to as a silent killer because its symptoms are just like other common ailments and one may not be quick to suspect it. Report by the World Health Organization reveals that about 27 million Nigerians are living with the virus and 5 million of this population are aware of their status. The National Orientation Agency is worried about the remaining 22 million Nigerians who live with the virus and are not aware of their status. This deadly virus could be contracted through blood transfusion, sexual intercourse, as well as contact with body fluids of infected persons. But the cheering news here is that the prevalent hepatitis B virus could be contained through vaccination. It therefore becomes imperative that everyone, including children, should go for screening and vaccination.
The awareness creation gives us the power to consciously seek to know our status, and if negative, then get vaccinated. But if positive, then get counseled on how to manage the condition.
Hepatitis B has a vaccine, but it is also unfortunate because for those that are not protected, if they contract hepatitis B, it is for life. Because yes, it has a treatment, but it does not have a cure.
Having put the issues in perspective, attention was moved to the screening and vaccination point provided for the general public at the office of the National Orientation Agency.
I don't know that children used to take under the age of 5, but now I can go and give my child vaccine.
The campaign is also urging the public to continue to create more awareness, get more people screened and vaccinated, and treated against this killer disease, especially in the rural communities. Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
And Agatha is in Benin with the next set of reports from that zone. Hello, Agatha.
Hello, Abiba. Thank you for joining us in Benin. Asaba, the Delta State capital, has been made a hub of the Federal Task Force of the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC. The Director General of NAFDAC, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, revealed this in Asaba during a courtesy visit to Governor Ifeanyi Okowa in his office.
Forces of the state and federal levels will tackle headlong the menace of fake drugs across the country. While thanking the state government for supporting the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, in achieving this purpose, the Director General of NAFDAC solicits support in the area of large expanse of land to accommodate NAFDAC facility in Asaba.
It is expected of a matured regulatory agency to have a strong investigation and enforcement.
Governor Kowa, who was represented by his deputy Kingsley Otuaro, assured the team of the state government's continuous support in ensuring that NAFDAC thrives in the state.
But the purpose of government and governance is all about providing securing lives and property.
The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, is an agency under the Federal Ministry of Health that is responsible for regulating and controlling importation, exportation, advertisement, distribution, sales, and use of food, cosmetics, medical devices, and chemicals. In Asaba, Tessie Coca, NTA News.
Now, the exploits of the Oba of Benin, His Royal Majesty AY II, in promoting culture in Africa has continued to attract international recognition. This time, the Zambian government is inviting the Benin monarch to an international cultural event. Ifoma Okafo reports.
The Zambian High Commissioner to Nigeria, Dr. Solomon Jere, who was at the palace on invitation, described the Benin monarch as the foremost traditional ruler whose activities since ascension to the throne has brought honor to traditional institutions in Africa.
His Excellency, the President, and the Inkosi Amakosi Panamochi Pezeni, on the 29th of February, will be a very powerful ceremony which will be exhibited to the whole Southern Africa. And they have felt it very important. They don't want any other person. They said, go in person and inform His Majesty to come and test the courtesy of the people of Zambia.
AY II maintains that it is his strong desire to bring Benin tradition and culture to the limelight, which he believes will be of benefit to the people. He described the invitation to Zambia as welcome development that will further spur him to remain on the side of the people and the truth. The Benin monarch prayed for health and wisdom of all. In Benin, Ifoma Okafo, NTA News.
You're watching Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. The news continues right after this break. Do stay tuned.
Not so fast. Look, I'm tired. I want to check out of this country for greener pastures.
Just calm down for a moment. Please sit down. Do you have a job where you're going to?
No, but someone is arranging,
Listen, Alinko. Checking out of this country without proper planning means one thing. Unimaginable begin. You know, I've been in the diaspora, but legitimately doing great things at home and abroad. As I've been saying, without the proper footing abroad, the risk is not worth it. Listen, Alinko, it's better to be home than be trapped abroad or even end up in prison.
Facebook at NTA Network News, Instagram at NTA Network, Twitter at NTA News Now, YouTube at NTA News Online. Or visit www.nta.ng. For live streaming, visit www.nta.ng/live. Now, you can stay updated on the go, be it on your TV, iPhone, laptop, or iPad, or download the NTA mobile application from your Play Store or App Store. NTA, you can beat the rich.
Lassa fever occurs when a person gets bitten by a rat carrying the Lassa virus. It is also contacted through the consumption of foods that have been contaminated by either the saliva, urine, or excreta of the rats. Lassa fever is deadly, so protect yourself and loved ones from it. Keep rats away from your homes. Ensure that leftover foods are properly covered at night and heat up properly before consumption. Wash fruits properly before you eat. Maintain regular hand wash with soap and water, as well as environmental sanitation. Report all feverish conditions and bleeding from the nose or mouth to the health facility nearest to you, and don't indulge in self-medication. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA.
Newcastle United travel to London for the second week in a row as they take on Crystal Palace in the league. Will they achieve the double over their host this season, or will Crystal Palace carry out their revenge? Find out as Crystal Palace hosts Newcastle United on the Premier League Live on NTA Network at 3:30 p.m. this Saturday. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Coca-Cola and Access Bank.
Many thanks for staying with us on Nationwide. And moving on, Senate has confirmed the appointment of Captain Musa Shuaibu Nuhu as the Director General of the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority. This followed the consideration of the report of the Senate Committee on Aviation on the screening of Captain Musa Nuhu. 5 bills were passed through first reading. These include Investment Assurance Bill and the Nigerian Arabic Language Village in Gala Establishment Bill, the Federal College of Forestry Technology and Research, Bringing Gwari, Kaduna State, Federal University of Health Sciences, Utukpo, Benue State, and the Federal University of Medicine and Medical Sciences, Abeokuta, Ogun State, were the third Higher Institutions Establishment Bill, which passed through second reading. And staying with the National Assembly, the recent diversion of international flights scheduled for landing at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos to neighboring states, the House of Representatives calls for more seriousness on the part of regulators of the nation's aviation industry. To this end, the lawmakers adopted a motion seeking investigation into the allegations that the instrument landing system installed was not fully utilized at the airport. This is why such actions arise. The House also expressed concern over the economic losses and inconvenience experienced by passengers. Plenary also adopted a motion on the need for overhaul and intensify security at the National Assembly, following reports said to have been credited to the management that intelligence has uncovered plans by a terrorist group to carry out an attack at the National Assembly. Members called for installation of CCTV cameras at the complex and for proper registration and identification of persons coming into the complex. Nigeria has continued to evolve ways of tackling social media platforms in the wake of increasing hate speech, fake news, and character defamation. A session organized by the Ministry of Information attracted critical stakeholders for a multi-sectorial approach to change the perspective and narrative of citizens on the menace. Abubakar Usman Akwanga reports.
The engagement here cut across different strata of persons with priority to active users of social media platforms and critical players in the regulation of content delivery to the public domain. The session traversed boundaries of social media platforms with promotion of opportunity for the expression of best practices devoid of the ventilation of hate and spread of fake news.
Nigeria cannot stand if we continue with hate speech.
We might have to also develop through the telecommunications industry where we can make sure that the share button can be activated or deactivated as necessary.
You will never know the importance of this one until you look at the effects of fake news and hate speech, what it has done to other nations.
Youth like Afsat understands the consequences of saturating the social media space with negative and divisive content, which fast-tracked traffic but breed dangerous sentiment.
Take caution in spreading false information and rumors that can deteriorate and bring down my community. This is a very good platform because before today I didn't know it had such adverse effects.
Advocacy for compulsory inclusion of social media and ICT knowledge into school curriculum and reorientation of citizens were streamlined by stakeholders.
It will assist in curbing the menace of hate speech, fake news,
media information literacy to address the menace of disinformation and information in our society.
The concept of media and information literacy is to reawaken the consciousness of Nigerians from unverified sources of news to a more nationalistic and credible sources of news that are reliable, up-to-date, and detailed in both conventional and social media platforms. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
Many thanks, Abubakar. And moving on, chief executive officers of government agencies, departments and parastatals converge at the instance of the National Orientation Agency to evaluate impact of the Freedom of Information Act on national development. Kenneth Nanim reports the applications of the Act is seen as a major factor in sustenance of Nigeria's democracy through increased citizens' participation in governance.
The Freedom of Information Act was enacted in 2011 to make public records and information freely available and accessible to all citizens. It also provides protection for citizens who seek such information and public officers from adverse consequences of releasing certain official information. Whatever is the case, the intent must be of national interest. 9 years after, National Orientation Agency is evaluating the effectiveness of the Act in moving the country forward.
Is part of the permanent dialogue mechanism adopted by the NOA to be implemented between citizens and government to promote openness, accountability, and the good governance in Nigeria.
The law has improved the standard of media reporting, investigating, reduced necklace rumors, improved due diligence in verifying facts.
Concerns raised here include how best to ensure that only correct and quality information are available to the public.
Despite the challenges it poses to our operational activities, deliberate efforts have been made to comply with this act, either by the use of media channels to bring the public up to speed with our activities, or availing organizations and personages who put up requests to be informed of our activities, much as it does not portend a jeopardy to our operations.
We know that there are obligations, there are exceptions, but we will work within that framework, not to frustrate access to information, but to help the citizenry to gain access to quality information.
The numbers of Nigerians arrested abroad have reduced by 45%, and freedom of information is directly responsible for this.
Director General of NTA Ibn Mohammed drew attention on the need for review of the Act to ensure those who access information from public offices are held responsible for any misuse.
Some people request for information hiding under the cover of the Freedom of Information Act. But the question that arises is, what do they need the information for? This is very, very important. I have seen irresponsible use of information provided. So this is something that I will call on the authorities, maybe the National Assembly, to take a second look at the Freedom of Information Act.
Civil society organizations advocated more enlightenment campaigns in this regard, especially in the rural communities. Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
And our next set of reports on Nationwide is from Enugu, where Chinaye is standing by.
Thank you, Habiba, and welcome to Enugu. Wife of the Enugu State Governor, Mrs. Monica Ugwuanyi, has commended mothers in the state for their high level of compliance with the national immunization programs, which she said has brought about drastic reduction in cases of childhood killer diseases, as well as maternal and infant mortality in the state. She gave the commendation while flagging off the February 2020 round of sub-national polio immunization days at Ibagwaka in Ibwezi South local government area of the state. Jude Abugu now reports.
The immunization, which targets children between the ages of 0 to 5 years, is part of the efforts of the state, federal government, and international partners to ensure that Nigeria is declared a polio-free nation by June this year. Declaring the exercise open, the wife of the governor advised parents to ensure that their children are properly immunized as more killer diseases are emerging globally.
When your children are vaccinated, they help protect others as well. All children are at risk for serious vaccine-preventable diseases.
The Executive Secretary, Enugu State Primary Health Development Agency, Dr. George Ugu, explained that Ibwezi South was chosen in order to reach areas that may not have been reached before. The event was attended by representatives of some international partners, including WHO, UNICEF, and Rotary International. They pledged their continuous partnership and support to totally eradicate polio and other childhood killer diseases from Nigeria. From Ibagwaka in Ibwezi South local government area of Enugu State, Jude Abugu, NTA News.
And the wife of the Enugu State Governor has also donated startup kits to some unemployed physically challenged persons in the state to enable them set up businesses in their chosen skills. Presenting the items, Mrs. Ugwuanyi noted that the gesture is to help reduce poverty and encourage self-reliance among the less privileged. Susan Eze has details.
Impact
impacting lives through her pet project, Ugo Touch of Life Foundation, according to Mrs. Ugwanye, is a passion and a way of showing love to humanity. With these kits, which includes tools for shoemaking, cosmetology, confectionaries, and other skilled works, procured according to their career choices, the governor's wife expressed confidence that the beneficiaries will contribute meaningfully to the economy of the state and country.
The most important love of charity, the best and the greatest will love your neighbor as yourself.
Addressing women on a wide range of issues that will benefit them socially and economically, Mrs. Monica Ugwanye stressed the need for collective response to the needs of the less privileged in the society.
Save the girl child. Hands off. Break the razor. Don't suffer in silence. Speak out. Female genital mutilation is a violation of human rights.
The women also received teachings on health issues such as Lassa fever and cancer from health experts. Bible message and prayers for Enugu State and Nigeria also featured at the rally. In Enugu, Susan Eze, NTA News.
And that is it from Enugu. Habiba is back to you in Abuja for more on Nationwide.
Many thanks, Chine, and that is Nationwide for today. Many thanks for watching. I am Habiba Oladipo.